Hi, this is Elena with Black Sheep 303 Creative, and my project today is a shaker card using Lawn Fawn's Wild For You stamp set as well as their Elphie Selfie stamp set. And so there's Wild For You there, and then here is Elphie Selfie, and I will be stamping images from both of those onto Bristol smooth cardstock. And I'm going to use archival ink. And because there's a lot of coloring and a lot of construction in this video, it's a little bit long. So I am going to speed through the stamping, just so you get an idea of how I'm doing this, not too difficult. And then the coloring, I'm really only going to concentrate on the elephant and the giraffe and the mouse. But if you are interested in the colors that I use on all of the animals or accessories, I will have that listed on my blog post. Now I am using Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers and a water brush, and I'm dipping the water brush into a cup of water that you can sort of see over there on the upper left. And this is 91 light gray that I'm using to base coat the elephant. So I drew it on in certain areas, and now I'm just pulling it out with clean water to color in the entire elephant. And then I'm going to add 90 gray. So it's a much darker gray. So I'm being kind of sparing in how I'm adding it down. And then I'm going to pull it out again with the clean water to just add some shading to the elephant. And I will color like the gator and the bird pretty much exactly the same way, just using different colors. So that's why I thought you didn't really need to see that coloring. If I showed you the coloring of every single item, I think this video would be an hour long. So I had to sacrifice something. So I apologize if you're unhappy about that, but I thought I'd leave in the most important and the more difficult animals, which were the giraffe was definitely a bit of a challenge. And the elephant was pretty easy, actually, but I thought he was really cute, and it shows you just kind of how simple it is to color him in. And this is 26 light pink, and again, I'm just drawing that out with some clean water. And I will use that light pink on all the animals' cheeks and ears if they have them, like the mouse and the giraffe and the elephant have ears. So I tend to be a little heavy-handed on the water with my zigs. So Bristol can pill up a little bit when you use a lot of water. So what I do is I just wait for it to dry, and then I just kind of scrape it off gently, scrape off the pills gently with like my fingernail, and that works just fine. So you can see I've colored my gator, and now I'm going to go to the giraffe, and the giraffe I am base coating with 50 yellow. And then I'm going to add some 61 light brown to tone down the yellow, add a little bit of shading here and there, because they're not bright yellow in real life. So the light brown was kind of a goldy brown, so that was adding a nice bit of shading here and there. And then I will decide to tone him down even further, and I'm going to take my 64 oatmeal, which is this guy, and it's a really, really pale brown. And plus I've got a lot of water on there, so it's not covering a lot, like it's kind of a light coverage. And so that is sort of toning all the yellow down quite a bit more, which I liked quite a bit. And then I'm going back with the light brown and adding in some more shading. Now with the giraffe, I do wind up with quite a bit of bleeding going on between. Well, here's like a way to clean up if you have a bleed, is to take some clear water and just put it on top of something and then just dab it off. Like I used my finger. You could also use like a paper towel. But I had some bleeding between the muzzle and the face because I made the mistake of, and I have told you guys this before, don't do this, but I did it anyway. I don't know what I was thinking. Don't do wet into wet. Like if you're concerned about it, like wait until the area is dry and then do the adjacent area, because like the yellow on the head is still wet, and so that dark brown that I just put on the muzzle winds up bleeding into that yellow on the head. And so that was my bad mistake. Shouldn't have done that. So as you see here, I've tried to like clean it up a little bit, and then I'm going to just set it to the side to dry. So for my mouse, I wanted him to be more of like a brown mouse than to separate him from the gray elephant, because I knew I wanted to stack them together. So this is the oatmeal color. Again, super light brown. And then I'm adding the 26 light pink for his cheeks. And then I'm going to add in the light brown, same like that I used on the giraffe, as the shading on the mouse. So again, just putting it in strategic areas and then using my water brush to kind of blend it together into the oatmeal that is the sort of the bulk of the mouse. And then I will use the light pink again on his ears, and the cheeks are kind of fading out. But again, I'll blend out the light pink a little bit. And then I think, well, you know, he's really pretty brown, like almost too brown. So I decided I want to gray him down a little bit. So I'm going to grab the 91 light gray, which is the same gray that I used on the elephant, and I'm going to just go over the whole thing. So here you see me going over him. And because it's pretty wet, I'm like drying off the marker on the side there, but then it's also it's a very, very light layer of gray that it's putting down because it's wet. So it created a nice in-between brown and gray shade on that mouse. Now I'm darkening down the spots and the tail and the muzzle and the little horns on the giraffe with 65 mid brown. And everything's dried now, so I'm not going to get as much of a bleed, but then I take some water to try to lighten up the muzzle and like dab it off a little bit just to bring it so it's not super dark where you can't see the little nostrils through it. And that does create a little bit of a bleed in between the yellow and the brown. But then I go over that a little bit with the light brown, and then I add the pink for the cheeks, and that pretty much covers it up. Like you can't really see it. Although the line between the muzzle and the face did get a little bit blurred out, like the stamping line, just because I had put so much water on it. So learn from my mistakes. Don't overdo the water. So now I'm going to put some Nuvo Crystal Drops in Sherbet Shimmer, my favorite pink, onto the hat. And I'm also going to add a little tassel to the top of the hat. And later I will actually put in black lines into that tassel just to make it look more like it goes with the stamps. And sparkle marker goes on the cake frosting. And so here are the elements to make my shaker. So I've got an A2 size piece of the striped paper from My Favorite Things Sweet Celebration 6x6 paperback. And then this is some Neenah Solar White that I have cut out using the Elizabeth Craft Science stitched ovals dies that you see there. And then I'm going to take the smaller oval and I'm going to cut through both the white piece and the striped piece to create the shaker opening in the card. And so time is going to go ahead there. And so now I've run it through my die cutter, and I'm going to glue down the frame using my Nuvo medium glue pen. Now, for whatever reason, whenever I do this, it never quite lines up correctly. I think it's just the nature of like doing paper and the same size thing. So I had to trim it down a little bit through the top there to get it to line up. And so now I have a piece of acetate that's going to cover the front. And then I have two pieces of fun foam that I've also cut out using that same die. So it's the same size opening for the shaker. So to glue down or stick down my acetate, I'm using some, I think this is 6mm Elizabeth Craft Designs double-sided adhesive tape all the way around. And I want to get a really good seal. So I used quite a bit of tape. And now I'm going to just press the acetate into place. So that gets a really nice finish. And then there's a little bit of glue on the front that I just took off with an eraser. So that was easy to do. And then I'm going to stick my fun foam pieces behind that. Now I realized I wanted to make the opening a little bit bigger, just so that when I stuck it down, I wouldn't accidentally have fun foam showing through the front. So I thought it was better to make the openings a little bit larger than the shaker window, just to make sure that would work. And so now I'm using 10mm Elizabeth Craft Designs double-sided adhesive tape, and I'm going to stick the two pieces of fun foam together. And so again, I do go a little crazy with the tape here. But the reason for that is because I did not want the fun foam to come apart at all. I didn't want to risk having any of the like sequins in the shaker wind up sticking like between the two pieces of fun foam accidentally, which, you know, knowing me and some of my luck with shaker cards, that would probably happen. So I always thought, I think more is more in the case of the adhesive with shaker cards. And with, you know, things where the shaker elements might stick. So I had to trim them a little bit to get them to be perfectly together, but now I've added a ton of adhesive to the back of the card and I'm adhering down the fun foam again. And again, I have to trim it off just a hair. And then I'm taking some baby powder and a brush and I'm going all the way around the inside edge of the shaker window, like along the fun foam, to basically like kill any adhesive that might be sticking out. And then there was a piece of tape on the bottom edge there that was also still sticky that I used the baby powder on too. And now I'm just going to add in a whole ton of sequins from my stash. And I add, I don't know how many colors, a lot of colors as you see there. And then I adhered the entire piece to an A2 sized white card base. Didn't see me do that, but you know, I figured you know how to do that. So now I'm putting my animals on the front. So I wanted to stack the giraffe onto the gator, and then I gave the giraffe the little hat. And I did have to cut like a little bit into the giraffe's legs to get him to fit kind of correctly over the gator. And then I used a little bit of tape, like Scotch tape, to hold the gator and the giraffe together. And so now I'm going to use Elizabeth Craft Design's 3mm adhesive tape all over the back to adhere this little piece down to the front. And it will stick very nicely to both the acetate and the paper pieces that are on the front of the card. Love that 3mm adhesive. It's like super skinny. Works on for just about everything. And I don't know, for some reason on this, well, with acetate, I like to use tape more than like liquid glue. It just seems to work better. And then the little bird is going to sit on top of the gator's head. So I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive to the back of him and then stick him behind the gator. So it looks like he's sitting on his head. And then on the other side, I'm going to stack together the elephant, the mouse, and the cake. So the cake is going to be held on the elephant's trunk. And again, using a little piece of Scotch tape to hold the mouse to the elephant on the back. And then I'm using Quickie Glue Pen on the front to get his legs stuck down to the elephant's forehead. And I'll do the exact same thing for the cake. So it's like a really skinny piece to hold the cake from the back. And then I will bend it up and trim the tape a little bit and use the Quickie Glue Pen to tape the cake to the front of the trunk. And so that holds those all together really nicely. And then I'm going to arrange the balloons kind of around, coming off the elephant and the mouse on this side. And I will use the exact same method to get those all stuck together and then adhere down to the left-hand side. So lots of 3mm adhesive and a little bit of Scotch tape. And now I have stamped and embossed Wish Big in white embossing powder onto some Passionate Pink Gina K Designs cardstock and Have a Wild Birthday, which comes out of the Wild For You stamp set. And then I punched out that little heart using some grass green Gina K Designs cardstock, and I sparkled it up using the Spectrum Noir sparkle marker. And now I'm just adhering that down to another mat of the striped paper that's going to go on the inside. And then I cut my Wish Big into like banner tails, and I'm adhering that to the front with some 10mm adhesive, Elizabeth Craft Designs adhesive. And that's 6mm, and that's going to adhere the inside greeting in. And that is the completed card. And I thought it was so cute. I love the way it came out, if I do say so myself. I just think it's super colorful and really fun. I did send it to my mother-in-law for her birthday, so I'm pretty sure she liked it because she really likes animals. So hopefully I gave you a little inspiration today on how to use those two stamp sets together and how to make a really cute shaker card and super colorful shaker card that I think would work for a child as well. It'd be super cute. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and I love to get comments, so please leave me one of those. If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, I would be thrilled if you'd subscribe. As always, there are supplies linked in the video description and over on my blog. I hope you have an amazing day. Thanks!